So to start off this week, I wanted to talk about a story that I'm pretty excited about. It kind of came out of nowhere. This project has been being worked on for some time, and we are finally getting at least closer to it. It's still a ways off, I think, but there's more information about it. We're getting closer to this story, and that would be something that is near and dear to me that I really have always been a fan of, and that would be Halo, which is getting a TV show. They've been trying to make a Halo movie, TV show, something for years. And they finally, kind of told us we were going to get that back in, I think that was like 2014. That Steven Spielberg showed up on stage at E3 or something and said, hey, we're doing this Halo, not a movie because the movie got shot down a few times, but we're doing a Halo show, like a really super expensive one with Showtime. And here it is, 2021. And about a year ago, we got a little bit more information about it, but nothing ever really materialized, or nothing that we ever saw, at least. So it kind of fell out of the zeitgeist. And now with Paramount Pictures' new streaming service called Paramount Plus, which is actually just repurposing CBS All Access, if anybody really knows what that is. It's really just CBS All Access that they're going to add more stuff to and rebrand and all that. That's Paramount's new Disney Plus, Netflix kind of streaming service they've got coming out here real soon. Technically, since CBS All Access is out, it's already out, but you know what I mean. And apparently Halo will be hitting that. According to the news, streaming service Paramount Plus just landed itself a high-profile title. The Halo TV series, based on the popular video game franchise, was originally destined for Showtime, but will now drop on Paramount Plus instead. You'll be able to find it there in the first quarter of 2022. I'll take it. You know what? They're not setting an exact date, but they're giving us at least a pretty narrow time frame. I'm cool with that. Before it was just, you'll get this thing when we make it, when it's done. So that I'm pretty excited about that. This series has such deep lore. I mean, for a video game series that's only been around since 2001. Which, I mean, that's 20 years this year, so it's been a while, but for a series that's, compared to some, only 20 years old, it has such deep lore, and there's some really interesting stories that could be told within the Halo universe. And I think a lot of people have heard of Halo, are aware of it, but maybe not as aware of how deep that lore runs. But the series is described as an epic 26th century conflict between humanity and an alien threat known as the Covenant. Halo will weave deeply drawn personal stories with action, adventure, and richly imagined vision of the future. I mean, yeah, that sounds like the game. I will say that maybe the game series itself, some of the later ones do, but they don't have necessarily deeply drawn personal stories. They do have plenty of action, adventure, and richly imagined vision of the future, but deeply drawn personal stories, especially the earlier ones, not so much. They've started getting a bit deeper in the later games, but a lot of the extended universe stuff, like the books, there are some web shows, or I guess they compiled one into a movie that I actually reviewed. Well, I reviewed both of them. Just all the other side stuff, all the extended universe stuff in this universe is like really deep. I mean, there's stuff. I'm a big fan of Halo, and I don't even know all the stuff that's going on here. There's such a long, deep, like Star Wars level deep lore in this series. People are like really legit. They're really all about Halo. It has kind of like the whole series has kind of fallen out recently. They had some issues with the latest game that's coming out. It got delayed, which is a good thing in my opinion. Look at Cyberpunk 2077. Rather release a good game late than a bad game early. But yeah. But all that aside, this show that's supposed to be like high dollar, Steven Spielberg's behind it, is coming the beginning of next year. It says the cast includes Pablo Schreiber. That name seems familiar. I'm not familiar who he is, though. But Pablo Schreiber as Master Chief and Natasha McElhone as two characters, Dr. Kathleen Halsey, or the creator of the Spartan Soldiers, and Cortana, the most advanced AI in human history, who is potentially the key to the survival of the human race. Even if you're not familiar with the Halo-verse, Halo universe, whatever, the name Cortana should probably ring a few bells, because if you have Windows, it's probably down there in the bottom left of your your desktop, because that is their search engine. Well, their search engine is Bing, but Cortana is like their assistant, their AI assistant. It was on their phones, and you could still use it on the phone, but it's built into Windows PCs and all that. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm not familiar with these two. Maybe if I saw their pictures, I just got names here. It'd be cool. The only thing I'm kind of worried about is they never really clarified what this Halo TV show was going to be about. And they still haven't really, but we didn't know, are they going to be telling the Master Chief story? The Master Chief, by the way, is the main character of the series. Are they going to tell the Master Chief? Is he going to be a part of this? Is he going to be like a main character or like a side character? And I don't know how I feel about that. Apparently, he's going to be at least a big character, because they named him, being played by this gentleman named Pablo Schreiber. I don't know how I feel about that, because Master Chief, for the most part, is one of the most underdeveloped, in some ways, characters in the series. And you're like, well, your main character is underdeveloped? That's because in the game series, you are the Master Chief. They kind of purposely, he has this aura about him, and he's kind of legendary and all that. But he's one of those characters you don't, and the books have expanded on his backstory, but you don't want to know too much about him. That's part of the mystique. That's part of one of the neat, cool things about him, is you don't know too much. And it just makes him that pretty mysterious, and that makes him more interesting. I just don't want them to explain too much about him. If they go into a little bit of the backstory, I'm cool with that. I would actually prefer this show be more about other characters, and maybe he comes in every now and then. He can be a character in it, and maybe they'll make it with him as the main character, and it'll be great. But a long-form show with just him at the center at all times, I don't know. He's a man of few words. He doesn't talk a lot. He doesn't show emotion. He's not a robot, but he's like, these soldiers are conditioned to be pretty like emotionless and just killing machines, and that's what he is. So how interesting is that character for the most part? I don't know. We'll find out. Steven Spielberg has his hand in it, and I trust him. We got some other talent on board. It says that the cast is also going to include Bokeem Woodbine, which I'm familiar with him, Shabana Azmi, I'm not familiar with that, Bentley Kalu, Natasha Kolsak, Kate Kennedy, Danny Sapani, Olive Gray, and Charlie Murphy. That one caught me off guard. Is that the same? I thought, didn't Charlie Murphy pass away? Am I wrong? I'm pretty sure Charlie Murphy passed away. He passed away. Maybe this is another Charlie Murphy. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure if it's the Charlie Murphy that we all know of when we think Charlie Murphy, I'm Charlie Murphy. That one, he's not with us anymore. So anyway, that has to be somebody else. But yeah, overall, this show, I'm looking forward to it. It doesn't give us a lot of details, which I'm okay with. I mean, if they're going to stick to, as long as they're faithful to, I don't need it to be a carbon copy of the game series or even the lore itself. I just need them to take the lore into consideration, keep it within that universe, stay true to the spirit of this series, and I think they'll be okay if they do that, because there's a lot of great stories to be told there. There's lots of books and everything, and I have not read all of them, but I've heard that they're all really good. So there's lots of good stories to be had within this very deep, deep universe, and hopefully they tell some of those stories the right way and bring the Master Chief to an all-new audience. But we'll see right around the beginning of next year, which kind of works out because the new game is supposed to come out at the very end of next year, supposedly now. So it'll kind of, maybe we'll have like a Halo-filled year. We'll find out. So I'm looking forward to it. Hope you guys are. If you are looking forward to some Halo goodness, then next year or into this year, beginning of next year, seems like it's going to be the time for Halo fans. Thanks for checking out this clip from the JarCast Movie Podcast. If you like this and want more, then check out the JarCast live stream every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Central Time on the Jacob Anders Review YouTube channel, where you can also find movie reviews every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. You can also listen to the entire podcast on all major podcasting platforms such as Spotify, Google, and iTunes. So if you prefer audio, whichever one is your preferred, check it out there. Once again, I really appreciate it, and thanks for watching. And as always, stay sexy, YouTube.